And here we go. So we just quickly wanted to run you through the agenda for the next 50 minutes or so about our online talk Pitch Perfect, how to pitch the EYP and build strategic alliances. So we've devised 4 key steps for this. One is the first obvious sort of thing you would need to do is identifying potential partners and building strategic alliances. So how best to approach partners, etc., and actually also mapping potential partners. The second step then is how to pitch the EYP, which is very much related to the icebreaker that we just did. Step 3 would be to close the partnership. So basically on how you actually can finalize it. And then step 4, which is also very important, is maintaining a successful partnership and possibly continuing it beyond sort of a very first collaboration. And we've reserved the last few minutes for Q&A, but obviously if you have anything burning in between, feel free to raise your hand or post in the chat. And now over to Sarah for the first 2 steps.
Thank you. So, step 1, let's begin with how can we identify potential partners and build strategic alliances with them. First of all, what's important to be clear of at the beginning is actually what kind of partnerships are available to you and what kind of partners. So I would already again open the floor to you. What do you think are potential partners that the EYP can work with? Anyone has any ideas? Okay, then let's start with that. So first of all, of course, there's public partners. That includes, for instance, EU institutions, such as the European Parliament, the European Commission, and also the Council of Europe, also foreign offices and ministries, members of parliament, etc. Then there's also private partners. So that is usually businesses that can be small and medium-sized enterprises and short SMEs, but also, of course, larger companies. And lastly, you would call that an intra-sector partnership. We have nonprofit partners that can be foundations, but also other NGOs that we engage with in one way or the other and cooperate with them. Then other kind of categories of partnerships. Can someone maybe turn off their mic? Yes, here she is. Okay. Of course, short-term and long-term. With some partners, you might have a relationship over years. With others, it might only be in the short term. So for instance, for one event that you engage with them. And lastly, a category that is important to be aware of is the difference between a grant, sponsorship, and donations. So a grant is usually an amount of money that is given by a government, a business, or also another philanthropic organization for a specific purpose, for instance, a project that you are doing together. On the other hand, a sponsorship is like providing, for instance, there's an in-kind sponsorship where, for instance, a business provides you with goods or service or maybe space that they're offering you to host an event. And then there's also, of course, financial sponsorship where they are providing funds for you. And lastly, a donation is usually an altruistic gift where you don't have to provide anything in return. So these are the main differences. Then let's continue. with how do you approach identifying potential partners. So first of all, it's important to develop a list on the basis of who would be suitable to partner with. Is there, for instance, a topic match? So a topic match, an example that we have here is the long-term partnership that we have with the Sparkasse. They are sponsoring econ topics already for years, and that's of course a natural fit in terms of topic. Then in terms of value match, examples here can be other nonprofit, other NGOs, or also foundations that have a similar value and mission. And one example here for the EYP network is, for example, the Mercator Foundation that we are partnering with for a long time. Then the next point on the location, if you are looking for a partner for a specific event, for instance, where does it place? Could the city or the local or the regional government be interested in partnering with you? And then network, this point refers to the fact that you are not alone. And actually on the network level, so also the international office already has partners. Other national committees might have partners that could also be interested in partnering with you on your project or event. So try to reach out to your stakeholders and just ask them for existing contacts that might be relevant for you. And lastly, important to note, EYP as a nonpartisan organization cannot accept funding from political parties. So that's not an option. Continuing, then we are moving already slightly towards the pitch. So what is it actually that you can offer and how can you convince them that it's a great opportunity for them to partner with us? The three main points here are really to convey to them that by partnering with the European Youth Parliament, they have the possibility to reach European youth and connect with a pool of young change makers across Europe. And as one of the largest youth networks in Europe, this is really a unique value proposition that we have. Then secondly, it's an opportunity for them to start a conversation with European youth, so they can initiate a dialogue and exchange on topics that are relevant for them. And lastly, they have the opportunity to engage in young think tanks, so actually consult on what do young people, what is the vision of young people for the future, for instance. Concretely, that means what you can offer them is exposure. So that is logo placements, social media promotion. Then secondly, also you can give them exposure to topic propositions. So that often happens, for instance, they can propose committee topics or topics for workshops at events. And that can also culminate, for instance, in policy papers, where, of course, you have a natural match of the topic. So you wouldn't cater it just to their needs, but there needs to be a match between your intentions and the partner's intentions. And overall, again, unique opportunity to engage in dialogue with European youth. Yours?
Yeah, I was wondering, what do you exactly mean with policy papers? Would that be just the resolution that delegates create during the committee work, or is it something particularly tailored to the needs and interest of this partner?
So in the past, what has happened, for instance, is the Young Ambassadors Project has produced a policy paper independently, but that was a natural match in the partnership with the European Parliament in this occasion. And then there was also in the past, for example, a policy paper on the topic of health. Yeah, you raise your hand.
Oh, I didn't lower my hand, sorry. But
Okay.
it's still a bit unclear to me, to be honest, because these are the projects that you mentioned. I know them. They're really specific, and I don't think they were part of something bigger. So when I'm talking about finding partners for an event that I'm organizing anyways,
Mhm.
I'm probably not going to make this new product like a policy paper just for the sake of the partnership, or should I?
But yeah, as you mentioned, like a resolution that is also, you know, in one angle can be called a policy paper. So it's like an overarching term for this, where they have, like, in the end, if then you can exchange on the basis of the resolution, for instance, with decision makers, and carry out the results of the debate of the session. Like, policy paper is not the right term here, but it's the same principle as, for example, for the young ambassadors vision paper. Does it make sense?
Yeah, thanks.
Cool. We can discuss more about it later. And then, yes, again, unique opportunity for them really during expert talks on any EYP event to engage in direct dialogue with young people is really unique for EYP. We're able to offer that. Then, yeah, the steps, this is very simplified, of course, but overall important to always ask yourself before starting any work on partnerships is, like, what are the interests of these stakeholders and what can they offer to you? So important to develop specific proposals before approaching them, and also developing concrete kind of minimum maximum packages. So minimum in terms of what they can offer and what you want to offer, and then maximum. So don't undersell yourself. Don't underestimate what you are actually offering to them, and, you know, be very specific in advance. What is the sponsorship that you are expecting for your deliverables? So, for example, if they are holding a keynote speech, what is the minimum ask you have of them? Then, of course, very obvious second step, approach them. This can be depending on where you kind of find the contact. Is it from perhaps a stakeholder from the EYP network? Can they give you a phone number and a reference that you can actually directly contact them? Of course, that's preferable than, yeah, just like cold contact chasing and calling the number that you find on the website. Always better to have a direct, like, personal line, or even maybe even an introduction. Maybe you can identify specific events where they might be present, networking events, etc., where you can directly approach them, as yeah, personal is really most impactful way of communication. Then once you managed your way of how to approach them, you have to pitch your idea, and ideally you do that again either in person or via the phone. So via email, less impactful. And lastly, follow up in writing with a concrete proposal, ideally even something like a little flyer or partnership brochure where you identify the specific options for them to partner with you. And we have reached very fast step number 2. Here again, I would like to ask you, what do you think are key things to look out for when you're preparing for a pitch? What should a pitch include? Please, like, really any knowledge that like you have on what even is a pitch. Is this just like a summary of like EYP, or should it include something else as well? Yes, Lina?
So maybe we could start with presenting in a global form the EYP networks, how it works and the association. Then the program was seeking to create with them, and maybe also the values they can get out of the program.
Joris?
I would actually turn it around. I think Lina pointed out very key information points, but I think potential sponsors is first interested in, okay, what can I get out of this, or what is kind of the match? Why do you approach me? And then when they show interest, then you can explain, this is what we do at a session, and this is what the EYP is on a bigger scale. Because I think you got to start small, connected to the specific event or the specific partnership that you're aiming for.
Both super valid points, and yes, in the perfect pitch, all of that should be included. Ivan, do you have?
Yeah, maybe we can pitch the EYP in a way like say what is EYP, what is it goals forward, why it unites all young people forward, and why and where and what, like this.
Yes, absolutely. Like you mentioned everything already, so we can already move on to the next slides. First of all, pitching, the most challenging aspect of it is actually that it is so short. So you have in an elevator pitch 30 to 60 seconds to say who you are, say EYP's mission and what you are offering to them, and then at the end hook them with something like wow, something that captures their attention and something that shows how unique this opportunity to engage with EYP is. And the other points are about, in these 60 seconds, establish eye contact with them, and tell your story in an energetic way and in a confident way. So these are kind of like key frames that you all already mentioned in your points before. And so let's move on to our practical task already, where we would like to divide you into small breakout rooms, and where we would like you to pitch the upcoming 97th International Session of the European Youth Parliament in Kortrijk to a potential partner. And we have just chosen this, it's the upcoming international session. And also we shared with you the vision booklet, where I can also look in a second where it is. It summarizes all these key dates of like when is it, what is the topic, etc. You can find it there and include it in the pitch. Is it clear?
What are we exactly offering or asking from this partner?
That is up to you how you want to approach so all the slides we mentioned before. Are you approaching a beverage company, foreign kind sponsoring to provide you with with water or whatever it might be during the event? Or are you approaching really a large funder from whom you want a significant sum of money? You would, of course, adapt the pitch accordingly. So it's up to you to choose what kind of stakeholder you would like to approach and then write your pitch. But the most important thing is please like stay in 1 minute with your answer. And yes, this is really like interactive and to learn, so there's no right or wrong. And yeah, hope you have fun.
Okay, so you should now all receive an invitation to join a breakout room. And we'll see you back here in 7 minutes.
Oh, and yes, at the end, of course, it would be great if you can identify someone who presents the pitch. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Okay, I hope you had a productive exchange. And anyone who would like to volunteer in presenting their pitch is very welcome to start. Someone?
I mean, in our case, at least, we talked about it and we had an idea, but we didn't manage like to decide like who was gonna say it, clear structure and stuff. So I don't know. Should I just go with it?
Please also feel free. You don't have to now like read your like perfect pitch. Like you can also just present some like parts of it that you created or share the challenges you encountered. Anything you want to share with the group.
Yeah, maybe I can just expose like the main idea we talked about instead of like doing this whole promo thing. But basically we found interesting to first like introduce ourselves, of course, but without going into the depths of it because EYP is complicated to explain, but just giving them a big number as in 40K participants every year. And then that we are youth-based and for youth, and also like our main values, which are personal development, youth participation, and education. And then we thought our focus company for, in the case of Kortrijk, since its theme is in a different light, could be companies that really foster innovation. So for example, Google, Amazon, and these type of tech companies were our main idea. And we thought to maybe like matching the theme of innovation, to offer them the possibility to participate in the fair that's happening at the event, to expose and present themselves, and maybe kind of selling themselves, or us telling them like, hey, you can present yourselves as the reference of innovation to young people. So in a way, we are giving you the spotlight to be the image of innovation for not only the 300 participants, but the 40K participants overall, and like that have an impact on the network in a way. So that was kind of the approach we thought would be interesting.
Yeah, definitely innovation and tech businesses, etc., or any other kind of organization that works in the field is a great fit for sure. And also, yes, like in participating in the fair, it's a unique opportunity also to establish connections with their future employees, you know, in the end, having this exposure to the change makers, the young change makers of Europe, is something very rare for businesses. So yes, very good focus. Anyone else would like to share maybe some phrasings they developed, perhaps? Or other kind of groups of partners you identified, like from the vision booklet, that could be relevant? Yes, Yasmin.
Okay, so it was pretty hard for us to work on this because we had so little time and so little like experience overall. But since we had like a little time, we thought that the easiest way to, the easiest and quickest partner or a target would be an expert, someone to invite to the session, to explain to us like what is going on in the world, because we read in the vision booklet that the session really focuses on climate change and the whole after pandemic situation. So since we had a little, really little time, we thought that that would be the quickest, easiest thing to do. We didn't really like translate that into phrasings and things like that because we didn't have time and we panicked. But we were beginning to do it. So that's it.
Also on this, just as a hint, it was definitely very short time to come up with this. And now like after this, we can have a look at like one example of a possible pitch. But in the communications manual and other resources that you can find on the membership platform, you already have all these key phrases that describe the network formulated for you, where you can, it's a source of inspiration for you. So feel free to have a look there. Anyone else still has some insights or something, yeah, they thought about in their breakout rooms? If not, we can go and have a look at an example of a possible pitch. So let me again share the screen. Here we are. Okay, so that's a pitch. I guess I will have to read and present it. Hello, I'm the main organizer of the Kortrijk International Session 2022, the flagship event of the European Youth Parliament, one of Europe's largest platforms for civic education. Under the topic, In a Different Light, and with a strong connection to the development of the region of Flanders, the session will bring together more than 200 young Europeans from 40 countries, from the 29th of October to the 7th of November, to discuss the pressing issues of our time. By bringing young people from different backgrounds together, we build intercultural understanding and friendships across borders. This is a great opportunity for you to connect and engage with young change makers from across Europe, initiate a dialogue on topics close to you, as well as gain deep insights into the perspectives and visions of young Europe. Partnership benefits offer great opportunities for enhanced visibility, such as logo placements, keynote speeches, and topic propositions. We would be very happy to discuss concrete opportunities for engagement and send you our partnership brochure with further details. And then ideally, either you already have something to give them if you're meeting them in person, such as possibly a business card or already a flyer or a brochure that is created. And of course, all of that is just an ideal scenario. If you do not have that, that's not a problem at all. And as you can see here in this, it's just an example. Also, not everything is mentioned, as that's impossible in 60 seconds. Did anyone take the time of how long this actually took?
I think you were under a minute, actually.
Okay.
Well done.
Yes. And also there, no worries if it's longer, of course. These are all like ideal frames. It really doesn't matter, like just try yourself out. If it takes 2 or 3 minutes, that's perfectly fine. So yeah, we, as we said, like we'll share this presentation and you can have a look back at these phrasings. Here is one example of a partnership brochure where all aspects that we spoke about now are presented. So what is unique about this event, who's participating, what is happening, what is the program of this event, and then lastly, what are the options to engage? And here there is already presented the options of the amount of money that they can provide, and also what they will get for it. So as you mentioned before, possibly participating in a fair and presenting their product or something else. Then logo placements, pre-session marketing, during the session marketing. So there's a vast amount of options that you can offer them. And of course, that increases the value you provide with the amount of funding they provide. And that's it already from my side. And I'll hand over to Anne for the last two steps.
Thank you, Sarah. So for step 3, to close a partnership, sealing the deal, as we'd like to say. What is helpful in all of these kind of things is that you can create a lot of templates. For instance, this pitch that Sarah presented has certain elements that you could use with any potential partner. You could also draft emails that go out to a number of partners and, meeting propositions, etc. So that's just a general tip. Do create templates, because not every EYPer needs to sort of reinvent the wheel when it comes to that. There's a lot of it already out there. And what is particularly helpful, if you're trying to establish a partnership, essentially it means you're trying to build a relationship with someone. So it is very important that it's one person on behalf of your EYP NC, basically, and one person typically on behalf of the partner. So it's always good to divide up portfolios among organizers, etc., about who's responsible for which partner, so that you can really try to, get a bit more personal with them. And that it's not always a different person answering an email, for instance. A general rule of thumb for EYP is also call until you get a no. Sometimes it does, pay off to be persistent about something. Until you get a no, you never know what a potential partnership might look like. So don't be shy and, pick up the phone and try to give them one more call. When it comes to sort of expectation setting, it is very important to agree on the deliverables that are part of your partnership from the very beginning, so that you don't disappoint your partners during the partnership. And that is very much related to putting things in writing. So typically when you seal a deal, you have some sort of contract or an agreement with a partner, which is very important because that's your point of orientation for anything that you do. I would also recommend that whenever you have a meeting with them or a phone call, do take notes during the meeting. You can write a follow-up email where you sort of, summarize the meeting and say, okay, following this, I will take step XYZ, and we are very much looking forward to having you join us for XYZ. That is important, and it shows that you are being very professional about stuff, but it also creates accountability. So if they happen to change their minds, which sometimes occurs, you can always refer back to it. And then one very important thing is establishing a mode and a frequency of communication. So people are very different when it comes to, communicating, essentially. Some people might prefer communicating via email, some prefer communicating via phone, some others want to meet in person. And you can suggest any of these. You can also decide for yourself what you find most efficiently. But it is always helpful to set the ground in that regard, and then also think about the frequency of communication. So when does your partner might expect an update on something? Do they only want sort of a confirmation in the very beginning, then they might want a confirmation once you've received money from them, and then they want a quick report at the end, or do they want something different? This is something that you can open very, very openly in the beginning, because it shows that you really care about them and what their needs are, and that is super important. And then on to the next slide, please. Thank you. Yeah, maintaining the partnership. This is very much related to what I just said. So setting expectations and deliverables from the start helps you steer the partnership as well. It's also helpful to have regular updates and check-ins. So it could be a quick phone call that you have with a potential partner, I don't know, every 3 weeks. It could also be that you agree to I don't know, send out a new newsletter to all your partners. Say you're organizing an IS and you say, okay, we have a monthly newsletter where we update our partners on the progress. That can also be something that helps you sort of pool your resources, because you send out one email to multiple partners. If it's a longer term partnership, it might make sense to also schedule a midterm review, where they can give you very honest feedback about what if their expectations have been met, and then you can still adjust it. Because sometimes you only review a partnership at the very end of it, and if they're disappointed, the chances of them renewing the partnership are very unlikely. So it's better to address these kind of things rather early. And it's typically the most convenient and most comfortable thing to schedule this from the very beginning, where you don't know yet if any issues might come up. If you receive a lot of praise, that's also great. And then you can always refer at the end of the partnership back to that midterm review and say, okay, I mean, we were pleased with the partnership. You were very pleased. So maybe we can explore some pathways to continue this. Another thing is staying informed. So do follow, you know, what the company, the organization is doing during that time of the partnership. What are specific projects that they're working on? Are they maybe shifting directions a little bit? Could you incorporate that to show that you really care about what they do as well, and you want to create synergies, as we'd like to say. And another thing that I think Alonso, your group picked on very well, is putting yourself in their shoes and being a bit creative about how EYP best fits for them, and not the other way around. So as to show once again that that you have their best interest at heart, and that they're not just like a nice add-on for your project, but that you are a nice add-on for their general work. And then a general rule of thumb is also that if you have a good relationship to a partner, it is worthwhile to pitch new ideas or projects quite early during the partnership. Obviously not, you know, before the main deliverable of your partnership has taken place. But if you already have a good idea, you could also pitch it and see if it generates interest on their behalf, and then slightly adjust it if it doesn't, and then you can raise the topic again at the partnership. So these were just some general tips and tricks on yeah, how to maintain and close a partnership. Sometimes it's also very subjective. So there's no, you know, one size fits all in case for this. But there are some things that you can focus on during every single partnership that you try to build, basically. And I think that's it from our end as well. We're already very close to our end, but still, if you have any questions, please go ahead. And yeah, Joris.
Thank you, Anna and Sarah, both. I've heard some new things, but I'm curious how you feel about especially maintaining the partnership over the long term in an NC where the volunteers are constantly changing. Because something that we struggle with most, I think, in EYP is handing over contacts and also not being able to make promises or pitch new projects if they are not there. So I'm not sure how familiar with you are with our kind of our working procedures, but usually for our flagship event in the Netherlands, for instance, our nationals in February, we have all of this sponsorship strength build up throughout the year until February. Then we deliver our promises, and then we send out this partnership newsletter. But we cannot really say much about the next things to happen in EYP, because in April there's a new board, there's new plans, and then only in September we really know what's going to happen for the next flagship event. And we feel that it's quite a long time to bridge, in which we cannot sell much to these partners, and generally that is the moment when we lose them. And when we start up again in September, it feels like we have to start from zero again. So do you have any tips on how to how to overcome that challenge?
Sarah, you want to go first?
Okay, and you take next question. So yes, for sure. I think that is part of the managing of the expectations and being very transparent already at the beginning. So if you already communicate with a potential partner that you want to have, you know, a long relationship with, you can already tell them, like, in these times of the year, like, we are available and we will be happy to meet with you, let's say once per month. In this time, every year we have board handover, so that will be like the summer break, let's say, and then we re-engage, and you already, at the beginning of the relationship, you can already schedule a call months ahead, saying this is our handover phase where the responsible person of this year will introduce the next person to you. And that is the first step. And then keeping things in writing of the person that is establishing the relationship. So all the learnings of, like, okay, this partner prefers to have posts on LinkedIn, and they need this amount of posts every year, and this partner prefers like phone calls instead of emails. Like, these kind of characterization of the partner should be part of the handover to the next person, and that way that would be a good way to bridge this challenge that, yes, many and like, yeah, that is in the nature of EYP. And you have something to add?
No, I very much agree with you. I think what you could also do when it comes to organizing sessions, you can also put two people on the portfolio, maybe like one more experienced person and one less experienced person, so that you can also ensure sort of a bit of development within your network. And then maybe the following year, this less experienced person might feel inclined, you know, to manage the partnership, or to at least, you know, share the knowledge about it. And another way could also be that you at the end of your board term, also send an email to the partner and say, okay, with this, I would just quickly wanted to introduce you and connect you with my successor. They might be reaching out, and we would be super pleased to continue the partnership. But I think just in general, transparency in this regard is very important, and to also signal that from the very beginning, as Sarah said. Any other questions? I might just stop recording now.